Hello, Mr. Randy Duck, and welcome back for another video. And today I've got two replays to show you in the Tier 10 German tech tree heavy tank, the E100. And that is because I had a couple of subscribers request a replay for me in this tank because they were grinding the line. So I managed to get two replays in the tank to show them today. And if you want to see the crew and equipment setup I am running in the E100, you can see it at the bottom of the screen as I speak. Now, as you can see, I run the advanced reloader. That is because I'm running the 750 alpha gun, which does have quite a lengthy, like a 14 odd second reload. And quite often I want to swap between the shells for the right situation, and I don't want to wait for that reload because I don't want to miss out, for example, of firing the HE round if I know I can pen something with the 85 pen it does. So I can, with the 950 alpha, I might, for example, might see a Turan and I might want to quickly swap to that HE round, and that's why I have it. Or the standard rounds, they only have 246 penetration on the AP, so quite often you're going to need to use your heat rounds, which have the 334 for those heavily armoured targets. And I might want to swap between it for the right situation. So that's exactly why I run this setup on the E100, and I do find it can be quite useful. But the E100 itself, it's got a lot of hit points, 2,800. It is quite heavily armoured to an extent, and it means it's very good at side scraping. The problem you've got is you've got quite a massive turret, flat turret face. So if you're fighting tanks who are firing those heat rounds, when you are looking at your target, they can pen you. So the best thing to do is try and side scrape and wait for the enemy team to fire, and then you can get your shot in and try and land your big 750 shot. So we are here already on Sand River. Now we do trade one with the E4, which is never ideal, but at least we pen it and we actually high roll on that E4. Now we're in a situation where we can side scrape now. I've pushed here to try and limit the shots the enemy artillery has on me, and you can see this poor Tiger 2 gets caught out on there, and I slam a shot in there, picking up our first kill, putting us on to 2,000 damage. And we have a lot of targets here to face. Now we've got Type 5, all these targets I can pen with my heat. I'm going to try and quickly get one into the Type who I know is fired, and we do manage to land that shot, putting us above the 2,000 mark now. But we need to just try. You see I'm side scraping here so I can bounce shots, waiting for them to fire. I don't really want to be looking at my targets unless I'm going to try and know I'm going to out-trade them before they fire, because otherwise I'm going to eat a big shot. But Type 5 is fired here. I actually opt to try and get one into that enemy heavy tank, but unfortunately it doesn't land. E4 is coming around. Now he shouldn't be able to just push around onto us. Now he can, but in theory he should eat damage from my tanks which are covering me here. Not to say it's going to stop him. Now I actually shot a heat round into the side of that heavy tank which was poking there. If I would have swapped to my AP rounds with my ammo swapper, which I could have, I would have actually penned that tank. So that was a bit of a mistake because my heat got absorbed in his tracks. Now I'm going to try and get one into the lower plate there of that heavy tank, which I do, and puts us on the 3,000 mark with the Type now advanced. And you can see I'm in a good situation really for an E100. I'm in the brawl, which is what you want to have, because on Sand River there's limited places I can play in an E100 heavy tank really, because I'm not going to go and play a ridge line in it where it has 7 degrees of gun depression. It's not well suited to that. Obviously you're going to excel more on like city maps. But I slam one into the Type 5, it puts him onto a one-shot now. Now I could potentially swap to my HE once I got too low, like this, for example, this enemy E4. That's only on 71 hit points. I will be able to splash that target with my HE to kill him. So if he comes around, I'll quickly swap to my HE rounds to finish him off, because it means I don't have to rely on penning him, and he's low enough hit points for me to not have to worry about that. Enemy Type 5 gets shut down. And at this point, it is still a close game here, but we do have the hit point advantage as well as the tank advantage now. I'm going to just do exactly that, use my HE rounds. That's why I use that ammo swap up, because it allows me for those different situations. Finish off the E4 without having to rely on penning him. And now I pull back into a situation while I'm waiting for the artillery to stop targeting me. And there's only 4 tanks remaining with 17% hit points. We have about just shy of 4,000 damage here with 2 kills. So for a map which I guess is not generally, I wouldn't say it excels for a heavy tanks unless you can get into a little brawl like that, which is nice. It's kind of what we wanted to do, and we had to make sure we penned our shots there because at a time we was actually outnumbered. and the game was looking a little bit 50-50, where now it's looking a lot better for us. Now, I'm just seeing who's got the most hit points. Obviously, the dream is to find the enemy artillery, that fun police, and slam a big fat HE round into him. And then one thing I forgot to actually mention so far, you do have a small secondary weapon with this target. So with this gun, only has like 87 penetration on that secondary weapon, but that's enough to pen lightly armoured stuff with 110 damage. So you can use that to your advantage to quickly swap and pen those light army targets. It's also good for using to try and bait enemy shots. Like you can fire your small secondary weapon, they think they fired, you haven't, and then you can hit them with a big gun. Now I'm trying to get a big shot into this enemy route. I swap to the AP rounds in case he comes around. That gives me his side here. Would love to get a shot into this target before he loses all his hit points. Now I'll go for a shot here into the lower plate, picking up a shot. Now he can't clip me out, so I'm going to ignore him because I want to try and start heading towards the enemy artillery. The Murat gets taken out anyway. We pick up a tiny bit of assistance, and we put ourselves on to 4,444 damage. Interesting. And it's just this one little piggy remaining, and we are praying he's around this corner because I really want to land. You see, I've already loaded the HE shells, hoping to land the dream, the big one, and try and pick up a bit more damage out of this game. As we advance around, we do spot him. I want to make sure I'm aiming this properly, so I'm going to pen him. We do. We swap to a small minigun to fire here, but he gets shut down before we're able to take him out. And we finish that one on with 5,500 damage, 1,200 blocked. And that does bring us an end to replay number 1 with one final replay to come. So let's move on to that next replay. Okay, replay number 2 on Siegfried line then, where there is no enemy artillery to contend with. And Siegfried line's probably a little bit of a better map for my E100, just because most of the map tends to be played in the city a lot of the time, and I'm hoping to try and get into a little bit of a brawl action in the city. Like I say, the E100, the best way to play it really, try and side scrape, in the city environment, ideal when you can. Wait for the enemy team to fire, try and bait the shot into your side if you can, and then you can take your shot and aim it, because obviously you're not the most accurate tank. I've got my accuracy down to 0.31. I'll definitely run stabs on this tank, and you want to try and aim your shots. Problem is, when you're aiming your shots, if they're firing heat at you, they've got quite a big target to hit, because you've got that flat turret face. So that is something you've got to be careful. Now, enemy I7 pokes out, and I try and get that shot in quickly, but I'm not able to land it. You do have very poor shell velocity on your heat rounds. Only have 606 shell velocity, and only 757 on your AP. So your rounds, you're going to have to lead your shots quite a lot here. So I'm hoping the I7 does poke round. Now I do have a very big caliber gun, so if I swap to my AP rounds, this is why I still carry the AP and don't just fire full heat, I can overmatch targets if they're side scraping, but this I7 pokes out, allows us to get a nice shot into him, and then we bounce one in return, getting behind this rock here. Like I say, just trying to side scrape best I can so I can bounce the shots. And we're in a good situation. I'm just sort of keeping an eye on the mini map here. I'm kind of thinking these tanks are going to stop poking, but I want to just stay a little bit patient, to be honest with you, at this point. I don't need to make any crazy plays, but I want to try and get some shots on these targets on the right. My main concern is I can side scrape off this building here, but it's then if the I7 starts poking me again from that angle, might be a little bit awkward. Now, the enemy Lehman Russ there, yes, it does have good armour, but not when you start firing heat shells. You can fire heat shells just like that, and I'm able to pen him fairly easily, as long as you know where to aim. And we've done that, picking up our second shot of damage. We're hoping to land another one before he gets out of there into cover. We do exactly that, putting him onto a one shot. I can potentially HE him now because he's got no hit points left, so I don't have to rely on penning him. Again, it's another good thing with that ammo swapper, is just been able to swap between those rounds to every single opportunity, because you don't really need to run optics on this. It's not the sort of tank I'm going to be spotting, so I can afford to drop an equipment slot for that. You see, my main concern is if stuff starts poking on my left, but I also need to try and get some more shots in. Close game at the moment, but we've got off to a good start. Now, this tank is a walking ammo rack. If he does present us a shot, we go for the shot where we know we can pen. Unfortunately, it doesn't. we end up eating the shot off of that IS-7 as he overpokes to connect. But we're still, you know, you've got a good point of hit points. You can afford to lose some. You know, you've got 2,800 to start with. 60 TP comes around, we get that shot in. We're hoping to bounce a shot in return. But now I'm looking at a little bar on my left. Now, I don't want that cheeky guy to come round and put a heat shell into me. So I've got to be a little bit careful with that bar. But end of the day, if the bar sneaks up on me, then that's really my fault. Because the bar is a hideous tank to play. And I do not enjoy playing it. IS-7 is still, you know, we know he's relocated, so he's not going to focus on the left. Unfortunately, the one-shot MBT is still there. It's making my life a little bit awkward, having two angles and focus on us. So I want to try and keep an eye on that. Try and get a shot into the IS-7. Unfortunately, it doesn't connect, but I do bounce the IS-7, putting us onto 2,000 blocked here. And we're slowly taking advantage of this game, but it's definitely not won. But I feel like we have, you know, the advantage in the map control. I have kind of swapped to the small mini map, mainly because I need to, crucial to know if those tanks are going to sneak up on me on the left, so I don't eat unnecessary damage. Unfortunately, I do eat a big one there off of that heavy tank poking, so that's making my life, yeah, difficult. I really kind of want that one-shot tank to be taken out, and that would allow me to then potentially push in. I don't really want to push in while I've got two angles on us at this moment, because this game, as you can see, it's still very even with 11 versus 11. I'm now getting pushed by this enemy full health Obit 279E. So he pokes around. Unfortunately, I bounce that shot and he pens in return, and that's not great. Now, obviously, I don't have the best DPM, so if he actually pushed onto us here, he could potentially kill us. So I'm pulling back right now, so I've got support from my friendly team, so I don't take unnecessary damage. I do then manage to slap one into him. Like I say, that tank is a walking ammo rack, so there's always a chance when you're playing with an E100, because it does have that big caliber gun, that you can get those detonations, and it's always very, very lovely when that happens. So what we're on above 4,000 damage now with 6 pens, 7 enemy tanks remaining and 22% hit points. So like I say, it is still close. IS-7 presents a big shot for us, so when we slap that one in, putting us under 5,000 damage, and also putting that IS-7 onto a one shot here. I'm kind of thinking about actually overextending to shoot this, you know, trading to shoot this Object 279E here, because I can afford to eat another shot off of him, and that would put him onto a 1. And I'd like to try and get that shot in and just try and get some more damage out of this game. So I do that, but he's in an awkward situation. We get the shot in, he gets shut down, and that puts us onto 6,000 damage, 3,000 blocked with 4 kills now remaining. And it's this go time now. We've got to push in. If we want damage out of this game, we need to try and land one on this E100. Hopefully he turns his side here. I didn't quite have the shot I wanted because, yeah, it was awkward with our friendly tanks in the way, but I might get that opportunity for that side shot turret. We do, putting us on to just shy of 7,000 damage, but there really is no hit points left remaining now. This E100, at this point I was thinking, oh, I could just HE him, but really what I should have just done right now is just loaded the heat and gone for his lower plate. I could have done that because I low rolled and that's cost me a kill. I didn't really need to try and HE him. I thought I was going to be able to, but you know, it is what it is. We end that game with just shy of 7,000 damage with over 3,000 blocked, and go on to have a good game. But we do get no kills, so it is only a first class. Like I say, I only got the shout out to get replaying this tank yesterday, so I wanted to just get two games in it as quickly as I could, just so I could show it off to help them out on their grind. So thank you so much for your amazing support, and as always, happy tanking.
Hadouken!